Many Americans are shocked and angered by Trump's chainsaw shredding of the federal government, but some young men seem to be eating it up. New polling from YouGov shows that Trump's popularity among this group has only increased since the election. As Catherine Rampell writes, young men have been up for grabs politically for years. And the things that turn off some older voters, like Trump's strongman tendencies and desire to break stuff without regard to consequences, might appeal to most young men who are frustrated by a system that they believe has abandoned them. My nightcap is still here. John, you're the man who studies this. Explain these young men to us.
Well, a couple things. The point was that they feel abandoned, and I think they do. And we're talking about younger men. 18 to 24-year-olds is really the focal point here, Steph. They
feel abandoned. Why? Because they grew up in
points.
households of "You Go Girl" T-shirts and black excellence sayings.
Well,
what is it?
First, let's look at the data.
You laugh, but that's what it is.
They're half as likely to go to college. They have far fewer serious relationships than their female counterparts. They've got a higher level of suicide. They're less likely to be in the job market. They're feeling vulnerable. They don't feel confidence because of the economic situation, and they don't feel they're not portraying that into the outside world. And there comes Donald Trump, who's giving him some sort of confidence and bravado, something to kind of believe in, is a quick explanation for that. But the point is that this was not organic. I believe this was strategic. That Donald Trump understood that if he was going to win, he needed to expand his franchise. And he, in his kind of cohort, made a specific effort to pay influencers, right, to engage with the bro podcasters out there and to sow messages, not just in the last 30 days or 90 days of a campaign, but for the last several years. As Catherine Rampell said, this is a group that's been up for grab for years. And the way I look at this, one campaign focused on this target spent 10 times as much money targeting young men than the other campaign, and we can see what the result of that is. And what they tell me, and by the way, I just spent a couple of hours with them this week, younger men who voted for Trump or independent, right-leaning, and they are quite positive about the future of this country. Why? Because they're studying to be journeyman plumber, for example. They're working in auto tech, and they believe that he is going to watch out for them to keep their taxes low and provide opportunities. They're not bad guys. They're not bad people. They want to work hard and to have the same kind of life that their parents had. And they see that coming from Trump more so than they do for the Democrats right now.
Then this is a big political hurdle for Democrats. How do they get him back?
Well, that's obviously a whole larger question. I think for one thing, what people have talked about in different contexts is speaking like normal people and having fun and having all kinds of Joe Rogan-ish and the other Joe Rogans whose names I don't know.
Theo Vaughn.
Well, exactly. Or Theo Vaughn, I actually like more than I like Joe Rogan. But yes, all those guys.
He is quite funny.
And people like that who are not de facto on the right, who just are normal folk, and who are the media equivalents of people like Dan Osborne in my native Nebraska, who did 18 points better than Kamala Harris by running as a normal genuinely working class guy for the Senate in Nebraska. But and not being the good boys and girls who are scolding you if you're naughty and who did well in school, and that being part of the main part of the Democratic presentation, whether you're, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, or Al Gore was sort of the original version of that, the person that old people thought was a great young man. Do you know? And that's the affect of Democratic politicians, it seems to me, and Democratic messaging, and of course all the other things that are said about the feminization and I will say, and I understand, and I've talked to young men about this sense of men are only talked about by many people, many progressives, as in the context of toxic masculinity. Of course, there's a thing, but toxic masculinity.
But there's also masculinity that's okay, that doesn't have to be considered toxic.
Well, indeed, and so I mean, I think all of those ways in which the Democrats and parts of the Democratic coalition have pushed out, normies of various stripes from feeling like this is a natural home for me needs to be turned down.
Dr.
So
Johnson.
there's a lot of things going on here. First of all, I've been studying this for the last year. This is a global phenomenon. Like, that's the thing.
Yes.
It's not just here. But I think what's important to understand is it's not just that young men are turning right. They're more conservative than their parents.
Totally.
Which is one of the first things we've ever seen in history. Usually your parents are the more conservative. You've got 60-year-old dads being like, whoa, hey.
Wait, family ties.
Right,
Didn't
right,
you-
exactly.
Yes,
Literally,
Alex B.
Keaton. That's usually how this works. So there is a weird thing going on with it. But also, women are becoming much more liberal at the same time. We have seen the largest gender gap amongst young people ever. Now, I understand, look, I'm a college professor, I'm on a campus. I also understand that this is breaking down in very specific ways because black men didn't get more conservative. They still voted for Kamala Harris. The numbers didn't really change. We're seeing these changes in young Latino men. You're seeing these changes in certain groups of Asian American men. So there's also a racial component of this that I think is important. What I think is the cause of this, which can't be fixed, some of this is economic, some of this is social because of the pandemic. I'm not trying to be crass, but when you were talking about interpersonal relations, I'm sorry, but the data has shown that young people are having a lot less sex than they used to, and that has a way of changing how people interact. All of these things, I mean, this is like studies have been showing.
Boys aren't getting laid, so they're voting
Correct.
for Trump.
I didn't say that. But,
I said that.
Jordan Peterson would. Jordan Peterson would tell you that that's what's going on right now.
It's the incel backlash.
There you go.
Yes. You know what it is? The girls are saying, I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't need you to take me out on a Friday night. I got my own thing going on.